All right, everybody, good late morning or early afternoon for some of you by now. And now we're going to shift over a little bit. We're still looking at right tackles, but we're going to shift a little bit to something that I think is a lot more realistic, doable, conceivable, and smart. This is the way I would try to look at it. And I wouldn't necessarily do it in free agency, but I would do it at some point. So the earlier video was about starters, like full-on starting caliber right tackles you could sign. I don't think that's very realistic. This would be more realistic. So you go into this offseason, you go into free agency, the draft, camp, thinking that Abe Lucas is going to be the guy. You plan on Abe Lucas being able to play for you, start for you, be a good player for you. You plan on Abe Lucas being the guy. But you hedge your bet. You don't go out and spend $10 million on a right tackle. You go out and spend $4 million on a right tackle. You go out and you invest a little more than you need to and a good amount more than you've been investing before in backup right tackle to get a guy who is serviceable. You get a guy who is a quality backup, somebody who is probably good enough to start for some of the lesser teams in this league, but you get them as a backup because you want to have insurance against an Abe Lucas injury. You want to have a good option in the event of Abe Lucas not being able to go or getting hurt again or whatever. So this is something that is affordable. This is something that you can actually do. This allows you to continue to have the freedom to bet on Abe Lucas as your long-term right tackle, but it doesn't sink you if it doesn't work. We're trying to do better than Jake Curhan and Jason Peters. And both those guys didn't play awful last year, but we need to try to do at least a little bit better so this offense doesn't get completely sunk if Lucas gets hurt. So we're hedging our bets here. And again, there are not a lot of great options out there, but there are a few guys that I think you could bring in for a reasonable cost and say, look, you're going to be our backup swing. You're going to be our backup swing tackle. You're going to maybe do some special teams work. You might play a little bit of tight end. But we need you to be able to hold down the fort at right tackle if something happens. So the first guy I would look at in this group would be our old buddy, George Fant. Still kicking in this league, still hanging around, still providing some decent value. He's played for the Jets. Last year he played for the Texans. And he did fairly well. Excuse me, flawed player to be sure, and he's about to turn 32, by the way, so the flaws are going to become more exacerbated, but he can still play. He still can do some stuff out there, and I think he would work well. Now, granted, I do feel like George Fant was a guy who was better at left tackle than right tackle. Like, there have been moments where he's tried to play right tackle and it's been kind of a mess, and then he's played at left tackle and actually been perfectly fine. So, I will admit it's flawed, but at the same time, he's getting older. And as you get older and lose your agility and athleticism, I do think transitioning from the left to the right is actually a good thing. So I take a look at a guy like George Fant and I go, he might be just what the doctor ordered because he's also providing left tackle depth. Either tackle goes down, he can fill in. He can also play a little bit of tight end. We've done that before, right? If you guys will remember, he did do a little bit of tight end stuff for us when he was a Seahawk. So I don't know if he can still do that stuff, but it's a fun idea. And even if he can't, like this is the kind of thing I would be taking a look at here. Now, last year he made $3 million. Maybe you could get him for about that much again. He did play basically the whole season for the Texans. So I think maybe you'd probably have to go up to like 3.5, but I don't think it would break the bank. I think you could get George Fant for 3 million, 3.5 million, and just have your insurance available in the event of a Lucas or Cross injury. Next guy is a guy who would have been better a couple years ago, but again, we are getting down to the nub here at right tackle. We have to explore all options, so let's explore the Billy Turner option. So Billy Turner, going to turn 33 about a month into the season, so age is starting to be a thing. Billy Turner spent a long time as a member of the Green Bay Packers, and his thing was versatility. He played a lot of different positions for them, filled a lot of different roles, and was consistently solid no matter where they put him. He was like a utility man in baseball. He was like a guy who could play 5 different positions in baseball. But that was a couple years ago. Last year he went to the Jets and he didn't play that much, and when he did play, it was kind of bad. It was mostly at right tackle, which is what we're looking for, but he wasn't very good. The year before that, he played all at right tackle and was barely passable. You have to go back to 2021 to find a year where he was actually playing good. And he was good. But it seems to me that his career is following a pretty clear downward slope now that he's past the age of 30. So when you're looking at a guy who's about to turn 33 and has already shown signs of being basically washed up, you're probably making a losing bet by bringing him in and thinking he's going to give you something plus EV, plus expected value. When he did this last year, right? He didn't even play that much. You can't even say he got tired or something. So Billy Turner, I mean, he'd probably be like veteran minimum, but not really fitting the bill that well here. And the only other guy I could find that was at all compelling would be David Kessenberry. David Kessenberry of the Minnesota Vikings, who age is even a bigger problem here. This guy's about to turn 34. He will turn 34 before the season starts. And he is somebody who is coming off a pretty decent season in Minnesota, but it's definitely just it's a waiting game, right? You're definitely just waiting for him to fall off a cliff here, and he's never really been like a great player. He's always been just kind of a competent backup. There have been a couple of good years, but realistically, I think that betting on a 34-year-old to be able to come in and play quality football for you, probably a losing bet. He is on the smaller side, which I like. It bodes well for his ability to play in this offense. But again, he's 34. You don't want old offensive linemen in this offense unless they're freaks like Jason Kelce. And David Kessenberry is not Jason Kelce, not by a long shot. So there is some stuff here that I don't mind. I think this would be a viable option. I think you could get him for like $2 million, $2.5 million, so he wouldn't even cost as much as a guy like I think Fant would. But in terms of actually putting him out there, you are just really crossing your fingers that Father Time is late to the party on this one, because age-wise, combined with the fact that he's already working with a very limited base of talent, this guy should be about toast. So David Kessenberry, I mean, I like him better for this than Billy Turner. Billy Turner, there's more evidence that he's just toast. Kessenberry, I can't say that. I do think Kessenberry would just cost a couple $1,000,000 too, so it can't hurt. But, I mean, there really are not a lot of good options here, period. Like, George Fant is good. I would definitely like to bring George Fant in if that we can make the money work, if the price is right. But it's tough, man. It's tough to take care of this position. There are not enough good right tackles to go around right now, it feels like, which is why we end up with so many guys playing out of position, and we end up with all the good ones in the draft going so early now. All right, so we got one more video later today where I'll take a look at the true pure backups at right tackle that we could go get, which, I mean, you want to talk about really just digging to the bottom of the ocean. That's what we're going to be doing next. But yeah, those are the guys who I view as being playable, capable backups, good depth, guys who are capable of playing competent football theoretically. But would they actually be able to do it? It depends on how you feel about whether or not they're going to age well. All right, I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. And yeah, right tackle's tough, man. Abe Lucas, please play 17 games this year.